So does in person mean you'll get plane tickets for us to come see you?
I hope so.
Please.
I just need
If
the
there's opportunities,
excuse.
why not?
I guess I just needed a
Why
phone,
not?
right? Hello, and welcome to Behind the Screens, IT at ND, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the IT solutions consultants at the University of Notre Dame.
Here, we explore the challenges they face, the innovative solutions they provide, and the tips and tricks that can help you make the most out of your technology. I'm Deanna, IT support technician with the service desk.
And I'm Scooter, Director of Information Technology for the College of Arts and Letters. We're thrilled to have you with us today. Our guest today is Loris Vicenanza, the new International IT Services Director working in the Enhanced Technology Partnerships Group within OIT. Welcome, Loris.
Pleased to be here.
Before we start, could you tell us a little bit about your current role and the journey that brought you to Notre Dame?
Yes. So my current role covers all Notre Dame global presences across the globe. So, the big ones are in Rome, of course, where I'm based, London, Dublin, Kylemore, and Jerusalem. And then, we have the small locations like Beijing or Mexico City, to Mumbai, or, where we have simply consultants. So just to make it simple, we cover all aspects of the service from infrastructure to security to support them, supporting being a good partner and relationship manager for all of these sites and then colleagues. How did I get here? Basically, I come from an outlet mall, a chain of outlet malls called MacArthurGlen. They're pretty big in Europe. They have a really big presence across all of the European countries. So they have about 21 European outlet malls across, Italy, Germany, UK, France. So they're quite big. And my role there was very similar to this in terms of always leadership in supporting the business and trying to design services and implement services across all of the shopping centers that were asking for investments and how they could enhance the guest experience.
Outlet malls, I feel, are pretty different to this new role with Notre Dame. What first sparked your interest in IT, and how can you just talk about that journey into technology leadership?
So the interest started, when I was a kid. My dad worked for IBM. Taking us back to the 80s, we're talking about the era of the personal computer. That was my major driver. Being part of the IBM family, because that's at the time how IBM perceived all their employees and families. I had a chance to travel and across both the U.S. and Europe, and just live and breathe a little bit more, technology advancements at the time, which was like I said, the personal computer, but also, how the business factor of in adding technology to entities and companies out there, corporations. So definitely that was my first interest. Then, of course, being a little bit of a nerd of myself, that helped a lot too.
Yeah. And so what specifically about higher education kind of attracted you to the position?
If you look at my profile, I have a tendency of just changing every now and then, worlds, and I started in a U.S. government, basically working for the embassy. I transitioned over to pay TV called Sky, and from there to law firm, retail, and here we are, education. But of course, education is extremely interesting, being an international university and having such a big global presence, and of course, the Notre Dame, which is it's an institution worldwide and well recognized. So that's, of course, that's one of the main drivers.
You mentioned you worked for the government and retail and these kind of different sectors. Which one did you like best?
Well, definitely probably the first one, because it's, the U.S. State Department. I was 19 when I started.
Wow.
I started as an intern, and then I grew into the position. Definitely, that was extremely interesting because you see how a government operates, and an embassy. The Rome embassy is quite important in the Mediterranean, so it's quite big. And I had the chance to meet the president's ambassadors, and that was definitely something that always got me up in the morning, and I went always with being enthused. It was definitely one of the most interesting opportunities and the adventures that I had.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, it
Um,
is. It is.
are there any lessons that you learned working across those environments that you kind of take with you as you move into a different environment?
It's always adapt as much as you can IT and technology to culture,
Mhm.
right? I had the opportunity to work all across Europe, and one of the most fascinating thing is that Europe, of course, and the US. The fascinating thing is how IT blends in the local culture. How data privacy is such a big thing in Europe, and how it designs IT services. For example, this is one of them, but also the local working cultures, and how systems have to adapt to that. And how the fascinating part is how can we design an IT service for Germany or for Italy. That's definitely something that I've learned, sometimes the hard way, and others it's something that I was able to, always working for American or in English corporations is something that we always included as part of the design when implementing services. What are the local needs? What is the local culture? And yeah.
So, Loris, outside of work, what should the Notre Dame community know about you? What are some of your hobbies or interests, or what do you do to recharge?
One of my passions is golf. I started taking lessons, I think, about 3 or 4 years ago. I really got into the whole sport, and then it's not a game against each other. It's a game against the wherever you're playing, and that is something that is something that always struck me as very interesting and fascinating. It's something that I have to pick up again. I have two young kids at the moment, so it's the balance that I need to find again. But definitely that is something that recharges me, yeah, of course, when I can, I love to travel, and with my family, and that's the right time just to recharge a little bit and disconnect from phones and iPads and and everything that connects in some way.
Growing up, were there any experiences that influenced how you approach leadership and relationships? I mean, you mentioned your early work in the embassy, but were there other things that pointed you on this path?
Well, definitely I had a quite long stint in an international law firm. I had the possibility. I was there for almost 20 years, so that definitely is something that helped me a lot, from a profession to grow from a professional perspective, because it was a lot of years, and basically I was part of an experience where I saw Europe grow. And at the time, the company was called, the law firm was called Sherman and Sterling. It was a very big law firm at the time, which now is part of another entity. But they were at the time establishing their presence in Europe. So I had a chance to live that, in those 20 years, and then just see how services evolved from Europe being 10% of Sherman and Sterling to 50. So it was, at one point, half of the income of the law firm was from Europe. So that was, something that amazing and fascinating, and IT definitely was a big partner and part of that success. So definitely that one. But on a personal side, it's always my dad, because he was a director for IBM, and he always had tips on how to drive certain conversations and support relationships. So that was a big part.
A little bit about what drew you to Notre Dame was its global impact and its presence, especially in Rome. It's got a huge presence there. But is there anything more specific that drew you to Notre Dame and Notre Dame Global specifically?
Well, definitely the mission. The international. The whole mission of Notre Dame as a Catholic organization, a big Catholic presence in the world, but and how they the blending of the presence here on campus with the global locations. That is something that is growing, and it's part of a growth experience. We're right in that set right now. It's something where Corey did a great job laying a great foundation, and now I'm just continuing that experience, and I hopefully I will be at the same level in terms of developing it and just growing it together with all of you and the team.
Yeah. Was there anything that made you think this is where I want to make an impact?
In terms of what I've seen, well, I mean, it's the whole experience itself. The role itself has been, it was originally here on campus. It was moved to Rome, so that's something, of course, that drew me to to this opportunity, and the whole attention level is right now is focused on how can we develop this role in Europe and in the time zone, and being a good partner to all the presences across Europe, across the Middle East, and it's the help zone. That the time zone helps a lot with this, and yes, that was one of the factors. But again, it's the whole concept of the mission behind this.
Yeah. It's very cool. You get to be very connected with a lot of different countries and kind of working toward a common goal there.
Yes, that's something that is part of my background. I always had a chance in scale to work with different countries and cultures across the globe, and how can we find the right mix and understand how we can implement the same experience, for instance, that you have here on campus with IT over to the global locations. It's something that will be a big focus for the next few years.
Yeah.
Well, that leads to our next question, really, is to ask, what opportunities do you see in supporting a truly global organization from an IT perspective?
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest opportunity, of course, is to continue, like I said before, with the foundations that Corey has laid, and bring it to a level where the experience that you have on campus, from a student perspective, from a professor, or from colleagues across campus, is extended in full transparency to Rome, to London. So the final goal would be to, when you travel from Rome, from campus to London or to Rome or to Kylemore, the experience is truly the same, and that is something that has to be applied both for people that for students that just there, but also for IT. So understand how can we adjust, what do we need to improve from that perspective. So we're in that phase now where the program is growing at a global level, and I think hopefully with all of your support and with Notre Dame global support, we'll be able to do that.
Well, it seems like that similarity of experience will be one way to strengthen the connections between main campus and the global campuses. Are there other ways that technology will help build those connections deeper?
Well, definitely the mobility aspect of it. We one of the conversations that we had was how can we enhance our global presence with our tools, and of course tools like Zoom or similar collaboration tools will definitely is something that Notre Dame will be looking at in terms of improving, and how we can extend our mission to parts of the world where we don't have a physical presence, like Rome or Kylemore. So I think that's something. It's an interesting focus, and definitely another point, but is definitely AI and how we can combine AI with our research teams across Notre Dame Global.
You've been in this role for a pretty short time now. Is there anything that what has surprised you most about Notre Dame, and what have your first few weeks looked like?
On a personal point of view, something very funny, but I didn't notice it. Probably I was too jet lagged. There is a time difference between Chicago and South Bend.
Oh.
Wasn't aware of that. I learned it the hard way going to Chicago on Saturday when I got to the train station 2 hours ahead of time.
No.
So that's something that surprised me in a funny way. And I just find it fascinating that, just get off South Bend and 10 minutes in, boom, your clock goes in one direction or depending on the direction you're going to. So it's very interesting because I'm used to like Rome and London where the time zone is not exactly at 20 minutes away from where you work from or you live from. So it's you tend to think how do you collaborate when you have time zone between Chicago and there's such short distances. Sometimes your hours are there's a lot of I think a lot of confusion sometimes, but that's fascinating. From a Notre Dame perspective, I mean the great welcome I had and across not only Notre Dame Global but also here on campus, it's been amazing. I come from a corporate world where kind of when your first day is kind of like, here's your pen, here's your pad, here's a logon, good luck. Here it's a different approach, right? And I was surprised, and then it's not something that you see every day, and I really appreciate it because it gives me the time and allows me the time to understand how a university operates, and what are the things that I need to focus on the first few weeks.
What's been the biggest adjustment moving into the Notre Dame environment?
Probably from a technical perspective, I think I come from a Microsoft world, so technically adjusting to Google has been quite a challenge. It's really fascinating how different the two worlds are. I mean, that's from an just from a personal nerd perspective, that was something very interesting. But the positive adjustment is just seeing how each remote location works and operates, and what are the differences locally that are important for the local culture and the local needs. So in a positive way, I think that is something that I have to that I was particularly interested in understanding how we can adapt and adjust to that.
Nice.
Excellent. So how are you balancing being based in Rome while leading within Notre Dame's IT organization? I mean, you're not on your own. You're part of Andy's team and others. And how do you feel? How do you keep that connection alive?
Well, it just requires a little bit of flexibility sometimes. The time zone, from my point of view, virtually means that I have a window from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. my time, which is basically your 10 a.m. Probably 1 to 2 p.m. time frame. So I have those 4 hours basically to communicate. But of course, this means sometimes just going a little bit over that extra time, because at the end of the objective is to deliver as much as we can and try to be aligned, which is really important for me are the relationships and the connections. So yeah, it takes a little bit of flexibility, but it's something that I'm very accustomed to working for a law firm based in New York. So, and the time zone is very similar to South Bend, not Chicago, South Bend. But it takes a little bit of adjusting and adapting to it. But it's luckily we have in my case, a whole afternoon, your morning. And in some cases, I will just need to extend to the evening, but it takes a little bit.
Yeah. So what are some of the challenges and opportunities that come with leading a distributed international team?
Challenges is probably, I think, one of the biggest opportunities that we have now from looking at my team at the moment is positive challenges is to integrate them with the teams on campus. I think that will be one of my first objectives is to, make sure that my team is aligned with campus and vice versa. So we had really good conversations with all the team, the support and service desk team, but also in procurement. So there's several things and several opportunities that we have to make that connection and to make sure that our team is well connected and understands how campus operates, and then how we can extend that to Notre Dame Global. Again, Notre Dame Global is growing, and the objective is try the experience has to be the same. So ideally, that will be my main focus.
And what's been your favorite Notre Dame experience so far?
I mean, definitely, the best, was the first 2 weeks. We had a pretty, I call it in a funny way, a road tour. So Kristen and Corey came over to Rome, where our adventure started. We spent a few weeks in Rome, aligning a little bit on how how OIT operates, and from there we went to London. And then the week after to Dublin and Kylemore. What struck me the most is definitely Kylemore. We were extremely lucky to find really good weather, and the location is beautiful. And of course, Lisa and Katrina have done an amazing job just to feel us welcome over there. And so definitely that was something that I was really impressed in terms of, location and the opportunities our students have.
Yeah, for those of you watching, Loris shared with us a photo of the Kylemore campus, and it was the first time I'd seen it, but I'm sure you could Google some of these images, but it was amazing. It was just really, really wonderful.
Yeah, it seems one of those pictures where, they come out of some deck on the internet for backgrounds.
Yeah.
But in reality, that's the way it is. And I have to say, and I think Lisa will be very happy, it made my desktop. So it's really something really special from, also from what the Abbey brings to Notre Dame in terms of not only opportunities, but all the story behind the Abbey in Kylemore.
Yeah, it's impressive what Notre Dame does outside of South Bend and these locations, where they are, what the building looks like. It's really, really impressive.
But, also, for example, London, there's a lot of story behind it. Dublin, so they're all extremely impressive. But probably just because of the weather and the warm welcome, that was a little bit special.
Yeah, I bet. So switching gears a little bit, let's talk a little bit about leadership. How would you describe your leadership philosophy in 3 words?
Definitely. Well, I think the most important one is relationships. They count a lot with me, for me, and I tend to be more an in-person, and luckily Zoom helps a lot there. So I will be it's something that I follow is making the connections, understanding how we can support a community through the good connections and the good conversations. I'm not a big email person fan, meaning that I prefer to have that conversation in possibly in person or in Zoom. I know it's not so IT, but it's something that I always done. I always pursued that in terms of building those relationships. But the priority, like I said before, is also the people, my team, and understanding how, what are their needs and how we can improve their daily work, and understanding how we can integrate it with campus, and just making sure that our community is aligned, and they have what they need to operate in all of these locations.
And so talking about people and teams in this community that you're going to be working with, what do you expect from these teams that you lead?
Well, I mean, the expectation is, they're doing already a great job in terms of supporting all the locations right now at the moment. But I think the expectations in the next few weeks is to start looking at being more connected, like I mentioned before, to campus. I think I've heard several, inputs from them, but also from people on campus, colleagues on campus, saying, we need to understand how we can operate together. The interesting thing is that we share a lot of some experiences and similarities. So it's sort of like, just adapting what we do on campus in a great fashion already to the global presence. So, for instance, it's something like, understand how we can expand our CWT program in countries like Rome or Beijing or Jerusalem, where, for the moment, they simply buy off the shelf. So it's something that myself and our team are going to start focusing on is, what can we do to be a little bit more connected, a little bit more present during meetings, and understand in how we can adapt those services to our global sites.
Yeah, that's definitely very important. And Notre Dame Global has a couple of open positions, one on main campus and another abroad. Do you have a plan to fill these positions? If so, which one, considering the landscape that the university is facing?
Yeah, so I mean, at the moment, we are looking for a position in London. It's open at the moment. We opened it last week, and the goal is to fill the position sometime in July. Ideally with at least identifying a person. So that's well into the selection right now. We started. We had a really good start in terms of candidates, but we're going to start seeing more and more coming in the next few days. So that position will be primarily focused with support and AV, and then relationships. So that's something that we will be enhancing with this role, and making sure that the business is aligned to OIT and vice versa. So that's something that we'll be focusing on. The other role, hopefully will be in September, will be an associate director. But that's something that we will be developing in September once we'll have more news on that role.
Nice. That's exciting.
Deanna, have you got your application in for that London position?
Well, you have to have, I looked at it.
Oh, yeah, good.
But you need to be able to work in London, and I can't. I'd love to.
Next time.
Yeah.
Hey, so Loris, how do you evaluate which technologies are worth investing in versus which are just hype?
Yeah, I mean, I think hype is always a temptation, right? I mean, it's something that is always there, but definitely, it's something that you have to look on the long run, understand how that product can adapt, and so probably, the best answer is, give the product some time and see if it survives the hype, and see what are their business models behind it, and then see, one example that I have was BlackBerry at the time. I can never forget when that BlackBerry was released. We were approached at the time. I was working for a law firm from a big telco that had the rights for BlackBerry, and it seemed to be a hype. And I can never forget one of our partners at the time, kind of said, "Well, yeah, this is an expensive toy. We'll never use this." But I said, give it a week, see how it goes. And after that week, he came back to me saying, "I was totally wrong. This is something that we need." So, that's an example where, yes, it was a hype product, but we immediately found a way to make it work, and it was a great success. BlackBerry, I think, was one of the innovators in terms of mobility. It was one of the first ones there.
That's great. So in this camp, AI is top of mind for many organizations, including us here at Notre Dame. What are some of the biggest opportunities that you see for using AI specifically in Notre Dame Global?
We had a really good conversation with somebody in Notre Dame Global about this, and I think, and I was particularly impressed about it, it could be a great fit for our research teams across the globe, and understanding how we can speed up and also how can AI be of help So, thinking about agents and thinking about some automation and how we can speed up and support our research teams. And I think that is a great opportunity for us. And it's something that we will start developing and understanding how we can make that fit together in terms of adjusting and adapting and designing something that will help us on that field.
Excellent. And I think one of the unique things to Notre Dame Global is you have to think about security differently. I mean, we're in the privileged position that if InfoSec says yes, we're good. If they say no, we do something else. But you have to consider all of those things, plus dealing with like GDPR. And I don't know if they've got standards elsewhere, but maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you navigate those additional layers of security and data responsibility.
Well, I mean, I think it's a team effort. We have a great security team which is supporting us already on so many things. But like you mentioned, yes, privacy is a big aspect of the conversation. So it's something that has to operate and be designed with the business, right? With the university and with council, and understand and assess what are the local needs in the country. But I think that we have to, when we look at a product or we look at a service or, we look exactly, simply on how we operate, it has to be done by, several pillars across our leadership teams, because it's not only an IT effort, and we may be wrong sometimes because we see it only from a technical aspect, but there's much more to consider, like security, like privacy, and especially because now we're living in an era where, a lot of big corporations are getting hacked very easily, and so there has to be a big focus on privacy, security. Always, it's always something that we have to look at when we're looking at a service or particular partner or a product.
I'd like to talk a little bit now about your vision for Notre Dame Global. You've already mentioned a lot about community and people and partnerships and how to align these like global locations to the central campus. But in this first year, are there other things on your list of priorities?
Well, I mean, I think the number one is always making it unique. Make sure that we are well connected, and besides the partnerships, besides everything else, I think it's we have to look at how we manage our accounts and how we manage the experience from procurement perspective, from a standard perspective. I think that's going to have a big impact on on how we operate. And then I think it will be a great support to, especially to the smaller sites, or where we simply have a few consultants, because it will be a unique centralized approach. I think that's the concept that we have in mind. Now I think it's looking at partners and understanding if we can actually do it, because if you look at the outreach, it's quite big. We might have locations where we don't have reach at the moment, but besides everything, I think that was one of the things, is how can we unify the approach, make it it works so nicely here. Why reinvent the wheel for another 15 times? Let's extend it and see how we can adapt to it.
Yeah. For those smaller locations like Beijing, what does Notre Dame look like? Is it a different school and Notre Dame is just kind of embedded in there, or how's that?
Usually they're like they're small locations, and they operate, of course, in a very small way, but they are a great input for campus. So we have to make their experience in a scale approach, of course, as Notre Dame, and they have all the tools that they need to operate in that way. I think we have to just change a little bit and adapt the methods in which we provide hardware to them, or technology. It has to be a little bit more aligned to our current standards that we have here on campus, for instance.
Yeah. What does success look like for Notre Dame Global IT 3 years from now?
I think, again, just to reiterate, I think that's the number one success. Just make the experience seamless. That would be my success. Probably it's going to take a little bit more. We have all the mindset, the roadmaps, how we're developing them, and having those successes in 3 years, where we're looking at multiple locations with same setups, with an enterprise approach, and which takes into accountability also the local needs, which is dependent on cultures, on languages, on courses, on programs that we don't have on campus. So it's a blend of our campus standards with what we have to adapt locally. So I think that's my definition of success. But in 3 years, hopefully we will have a team well interconnected with our colleagues on campus, and I think those are the main objectives.
Yeah. Are there specific capabilities or services you'd like to strengthen? I know you mentioned bringing like the CWP program to other locations. Is there anything else like that you'd like to do?
Definitely, I think we have to improve also on the the network front. So there's several points and relationships that we need to increase, I think, in terms of presence. But I think one of the points that we need to make sure is that sites are always on and connected. So we're re-looking at backup methodologies and understanding how we can make sure that the centers always stay online. And let's not forget, these were small programs that had a great success, and they grew into something bigger. We're looking at something around 200 to 300 people ranging around the world of Notre Dame Global, both on campus, but also on a consultancy basis. That they're like professors that come on site and do courses. So all of this has to be taken into accountability on what is the experience, what is the support model that we want to design, and I think those are the most important points.
Yeah.
You've talked about relationships quite a lot, and I just want to ask you a couple of final questions kind of in this area. What do you hope that people will say about your leadership after your first year?
I hope good things. I hope so. But yes, I mean, I think, being present, my location will support that a lot, meaning that, I'll have the possibility to be more frequently in London, for instance, or Dublin or Kylemore. I mean, I am a few hours away. So definitely, we're still trying to, it's new, and we're growing into this role, including myself. Right. So we need to understand how we can do that. But hopefully, in a year from now, is that Loris is a good partner, and he's there for the business and in the present.
And you've talked about the interactions with main campus and with the rest of us over here in IT on this side. How can we best help you, or how can we best engage with you and the rest of your team? What does that look like?
Well, I mean, I will be on campus several times, so please do not hesitate to say hi. I'm always, even when I go back to Rome, I'll be very happy to meet you if I didn't have the chance to meet you in these 2 weeks or the next weeks when I will be on campus. But definitely, I'm a phone call away, I'm a Zoom away. I mean, and I'm very happy because that helps me understand how the team operates and how can I leverage on that relationship and making sure that our Notre Dame Global is supported. So I think the answer is whatever method you want, which is Zoom, phone call, or in person.
So does in person mean you'll get plane tickets for us to come see you?
I hope so.
I just need an excuse.
Why not?
I guess I just needed a phone, right?
Okay, it's time for Consultant Quirks, where we ask our guests a few fun rapid fire questions. Loris, if you weren't in IT, what job would you like to have?
Well, definitely a pilot, simply because I
Okay.
started. My dad had traveled a lot, so I was always literally on a plane, and my family was in the U.S. and in Italy, so I was constantly on an airplane somewhere, and that I grew closer to that world. So definitely yes, it was something that if I was not in IT, definitely was pursuing at the moment.
Nice. And which piece of technology would you gladly live without?
A phone for sure.
Yeah,
But
good
the
answer.
phones are, they're becoming so addictive to everything. We were talking about it the other day. You don't make phone calls anymore. They're like terminals basically where you're connected. So, if I had the opportunity at the time to say no to a phone, I would say no to a phone.
Yeah.
I'm not that young, but 20 years, 25 years ago, a phone was considered a benefit, something that I remember having interviews with companies saying, "Well, benefit, we also have a phone." I was like, and that changed, right? So today, it's
Yeah.
not a benefit anymore. So if you don't
Yeah.
provide your phone, it's better.
Let's continue this fun here with the Did You Know Tech Edition. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Yes.
All right, quick recap for our listeners and our guest. This is a trivia question that only I knew prior to this recording. The host and the guest do not know what the question is going to be, so therefore no possible Googling of said answer. And we do keep points. This isn't just for the listeners. We will verse our hosts versus our guests. And looking at the current scoreboard here, I will pull that up. In the lead right now is the guest with 12 points.
Nice.
Followed right on the tail of Scooter with 11 points. Deanna has 7 points. And I'm in last place with only 2. But remember, I only get points when nobody gets the question right. So my odds are against me, but we shall see how the odds fare for you guys. It is question time. And this one is going to benefit our abroad traveler. So, with that in mind, Rome is famous for its ancient roads. But what modern technology was originally developed to help drivers navigate roads and is now used in everything from smartphones to food delivery apps? Is it A, NFC, which stands for Near Field Communication? Is it B, GIS, Geographic Information Systems? Is it C, GPS, Global Positioning System? Or is it D, RFID, Radio Frequency Identification?
I would say GPS probably.
Loris is going with C, GPS.
That seems like a trick question.
Do I ever do that, Deanna?
Yes.
It's like overly simple, but that's concerning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to say GPS too. So if it's a trap, I'm going to fall for it.
All right, Scooter's going GPS.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Oh, Deanna's.
Rome is famous for its ancient roads, but what modern technology was originally developed to help drivers navigate the roads and is now used in everything from smartphones to food delivery apps?
It's like mapping, and that's GPS.
I know.
Romans were good with maps, so if it's a trick question, it's very, very tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has pulled things like that on us before.
Okay, I'm gonna be the odd man out and say GIS.
Okay, so we got 2 GPSs, 1 GIS. Nobody's picking NFC and nobody's picking RFID. So there is a chance I could get points here.
No.
But the correct answer is GPS.
Woohoo.
Nice job.
Okay. So it wasn't a trick question. Ugh,
No, but
It was a trick question.
That's right.
yeah.
just getting you to overthink was the trick question. So
Congratulations.
Oh, well, when
I
you
do
did
what I
that, should have followed my gut.
That's the lesson, right? Always follow your gut.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for playing.
Yeah, thank you. And Loris, thank you very much for joining us. We've really enjoyed chatting with you.
If you've got someone you'd like us to interview, just email those ideas to btspodcast@nd.edu. If there's anything else new, exciting, frustrating, or inspiring happening in your IT consultancy world, please share that with us too. We'd love to hear your insights and ideas.
Next time, we'll speak with Hannah Elliott and Mike Voss from the service desk to highlight the new roles of field services and operations. Until then, thank you for listening.
Thank you, everyone.
Signing off from behind the screens, IT at ND.
Stay tech savvy, Notre Dame.